Hmm. Just in case this is going at the moment, I'm just starting a few minutes early, just so that I can just vibe and get ready for the event. An event? Well, this is more like a trial run. I mean, like, no, I'm not going to half-ass it, but this week for me has mostly been about getting my live stream audio correct. So I'm hoping that it will. Because it'd be nice to get that done. You know, I've tested it a lot before I went through this video today, this live stream. I've tested it. And we're reviewing the entirety of this album, which is called Most Beloved. Hang on. I really should do something real quick while I'm here. Do they have English of it? They do. Good. I'm glad. I can check the Wikipedia to check which songs we're up to. That's great. Because I don't want to get it confused, you know? Yeah. Whoa. One. Good. I think there should be subtitles as well. I'll just double check, you know, whether there are or not. Man, I am surprised that it doesn't show English captions here. Yeah, so there are auto caps. They're good. Should be auto caps for this. If there aren't, I'm sorry. I don't know why that is. Hello. Hello. Hi. Who do we have here? I'm going to go to Deepal. What do we have? Zhao Feng. Sup, Zhao Feng? How you doing? Alright, I suppose we should get into it, eh? It's 5 o'clock. Have some water? I bit my tongue, so my tongue's a bit sore, but that's a very minor inconvenience in the grand scheme of things. I tried to find English lyrics for this just before we get into it. I found the lyrics for 5 songs. I am hoping they're all Leslie's tracks. I could be wrong. Sup, Fate? How you doing? Welcome to the live stream. I am hoping that these are... I mean, these all look like they are Leslie's stuff. Like, we've got 5 of them. Yeah, let's do the conclusion. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to my review of Leslie Cheung's album Most Beloved, if I'm not mistaken. People have been asking me to review Leslie's stuff for a really long time, and I am doing that now. So yeah, it's nice to have a second album review at the end of the month. I don't know what the next album review is going to be, but we will find out. But in the meantime, we're going to switch back to here. We're going to be reviewing all 10 tracks today. Now, often people want me to show the lyrics in Spotify when I do these reviews. However, there are no lyrics for these songs as far as I'm aware. Oh, no, there are. There are lyrics for these songs. So you will be pleased to know that there are lyrics for these songs. I actually assumed that maybe we don't need 1,000 Dreams of You because he is singing in English. That may be the case, which would obviously be fine. I don't particularly mind that at all. It's okay. Now, I have made some changes to the audio to make it better. I'm doing it differently. And I know I'm going to find out at the end of the live stream if it's terrible or not, but I've tested as much as I can, so I'm not going to worry about it. You guys will let me know if it's terrible or not, I'm sure. But we're just going to get started, right? With the first track, we've got 1,000 Dreams of You, and we're going to listen through each of these 10 tracks from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. And if you guys have any thoughts along the way, what's up, Shredders? What's your favorite track from Leslie Cheung, and why do you like it? Yeah, I think that's a good question for the day. Pin that message to the top. Good. Let's go. 1,000 Dreams of You. Hang on, we'll go from the start. There we go. Okay, so the piano line is kind of sassy, isn't it? Okay, Blue Dinner Box. Have a good night. Enjoy the race. I think the combination of the saxophone here, you know, the combination of the saxophone here is fantastic with the keys. I mean, it's fantastic piano work, like dun 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 dun. Like, it's a really engaging motif there. Apparently this was his like album. He wasn't sure if he wanted to retire or not. I think this was originally a jazzy kind of lounge, jazzy kind of single. Together, yes, together. I mean, he's clearly a good singer. He's got a bit of charisma to him. You brought the spring again. Your fingers touched the strings of my heart and made it sing again. I hope you dream 1,000 dreams of me. I like the cooler response between the saxophone. Although, is that a trumpet? What am I talking about? It's a trumpet. It's clearly a trumpet. Calling that a saxophone. There's people probably screaming, why is that? What are you doing? The piano is so sassy though. All these different little intricate melodies behind it. And that swing kit is to die for, dude. Are they using brushes though? 1,000, a million, a zillion dreams of you. His English is fantastic, actually. I really enjoy it. It's easy to hear all the different words really nice and smoothly. The trumpet solo here is really well phrased, elegant, and within the style of the genre he's singing. Really happy with it, man. It's great. I mean, like, I think it's a fantastic track. I've got no issues with it whatsoever. It's interesting that he starts the track with an English one. I think that is to expand to a wider audience, because I've checked out a few of his earlier albums and I don't know if there's as much stuff in there like that. I could be wrong though. Doing together, well, we promised to do something together. And if you do, I dream my whole life through. 1,000, a million, a zillion dreams of you. Yeah, no, that's a great phrasing up into that range there. I mean, like, I like the fact that he's comfortable allowing that trumpet to take center stage occasionally and just to not constantly be the focal point. It does kind of sound classy and elegant. And the double bass with the drum kit, it's very much of the zone of the time of the original was written. And resolving or finishing on that extended chord was a wonderful choice there. You know, the lovely piano line going downwards. And yeah, it's wonderful. Very, very great first impression of Leslie's work. I know we've probably listened to them during Fan Request live streams. But at the same time, it's just nice to hear more of it. So that was cool. That was great first track there. We're clearly I don't know how much of it he writes. But you know, like whether he writes his own music or whether he performs his own music. I know he's a singer, obviously, because he's singing, but I don't know a lot about him. So if you guys can like fill me in on what his capacity is, that'd be great. I'm just glad I'm finally getting around to reviewing his stuff. It's fantastic. And I'm glad that he did this album and he didn't just decide to retire because he's clearly good at what he does, you know. Even LC says, even I don't know any Leslie's albums, I only know his big singles. I have a bad feeling his albums might not date well. Hope I'm wrong. Well, I mean, that's true. They might date they might date poorly. You just don't know until you try it, eh? I think that he sang well here, and I'm wondering if this is going to be the same type of music throughout or different stuff. Blue Dinner Box says, to be honest, I never listened to Leslie Cheung's music actively, but many of my friends are wow, okay, are obsessed with him. Yeah, I can feel that. I can understand that. I feel the same way about certain pop musicians and stuff like that. One of the ones that I never really get is Coldplay. Coldplay is a band that a lot of people I know are into, but I've never really understood why they're so popular. And then I saw their live stuff versus the studio stuff, and I think the studio stuff is fantastic. I think their live stuff for Coldplay, a lot of the time it's the spectacle of it. It's the fact that it's all big explosions and like wild, crazy stuff going on at the events. But yeah, it's a great start to 1,000 Dreams of You. Apparently the Endless Embrace is a duet with Winnie's Sin. I don't think we've listened to Winnie before, so that's cool. And Elsie says, I didn't know his English was this good. What the fuck? Well, I mean, it is. It's fantastic. The English is great. You know, no complaints. No complaints at all. Have a quick listen back to the live stream so far to make sure that I'm not completely scuffing the audio, because if it's different in the rendered package than it is otherwise, then that's just what it is, eh? But yeah. It's actually good. I could probably put the music up a little bit. So I'm gonna put like the music up to number 10. So put the volume up a little bit more. Yeah, that's fine. 10. There we go. We'll try that, see how it goes. So the audio should be a little bit louder now. We're gonna continue with track number 2 now. Let's go. Lyrics for you guys. It's very different altogether, so I suppose it's kind of like a variety album, like a lot of J. Charles stuff. It could be a grander kind of, could be a grander spectacle, I'm not sure. Very much that kind of 80s kind of ballad format with the reverb tails and stuff. A little bit of chorus on the keys. Winnie's voice is beautiful though. I'm really happy with how she sounds. And the roundness of that bass playing the root notes is great. Like, she's got a very breathy vocal performance that contrasts well with the straightforwardness of Leslie Cheung stuff. The vocal harmonies in here are absolutely wonderful, like very pretty sounding, you know. And they're in line with the strings as well. Great sense of unison between those harmonic elements. Use of the sparkly keys as well. I mean, I'm not sure what this track is about. I don't even know if I've got lyrics for it, but we're gonna find out. A little bit more development of the bass in this part. Not unhappy with it. It has like an old-timey kind of nostalgic feel to it. Like this guy has been around for a while doing a sing vocal style. It doesn't really have a lot of the contemporary elements and stuff I hear in the 2000s and 2010s for obvious reasons. It's interesting that she's like kind of breathy sounding when he's going through his pipes. And then later on they come together. I'm kind of surprised by that. Yeah. The sauntering upwards and downwards throughout the scale shapes. So, like, from what I can understand, the impression I have is that, like, a lot of the music that I hear from this part of the world in the 90s kind of sounds like it was made in the 80s. And then, like, the stuff that was in the 2000s was made in the 90s, etc. The reason I say that is because a lot of these kind of big reverby late invalids with the string sections and all that, that were the real big thing in the 80s. And they had this kind of old-timey, crisp kind of tone to the, warm kind of tone to them, should I say. When I compare it to a lot of the Western stuff and like pop music and such back in the 90s, you had the boy band movement and such. And that was a little bit more sort of sterilized in my opinion. I listened through like a Backstreet Boys album and I was not impressed by it, man. It was not really my stuff. I wasn't a fan of the Backstreet Boys, but I mean, obviously Leslie Cheung and Winnie Sin, they're fantastic singers. Do I think I think part of what would allow this to hit more deeply is to understand the lyrics and potentially, you know, have them be natively sort of like sung in your own tongue, so that you can like feel the emotion, the emphasis behind the words. I'm not necessarily sure if I get the same experience that people who understand the language natively do. I can appreciate the talent, you know, like for sure the talent's there. They're clearly very good at what they do. And I don't think there was a single note out of place with the composition, the backing. But at the same time, I feel as if the backing, the accompaniment, didn't necessarily have as much flair as the previous track. I missed the solo sections that we have, like the trumpet in the previous track, which is a shame. But I have a feeling that as a duet, that was more of a safe performance from Leslie Cheung and Winnie, just to kind of allow themselves to compartmentalize within each other. So, you know, it's okay. I didn't like it as much as 1,000 Dreams of You, and that's irrespective of the fact that I could understand the lyrics. It's more that I just preferred the way the accompaniment of the first track to the second. I don't necessarily think that track was as musically interesting to me, in part due to a lack of lead phrasing outside of the vocals. And yeah, basically that's it. We got track number 3 now, though. Midnight Singer. I can't explain why, says LC, but not many duets do it for me in general. It's a mystery. Yeah, I think it's because you've got egos going on. And when you've got two people, right? When you've got two people who are trying to work together and they're both professional musicians and they're both established, you really do run the risk of stepping on toes if you try and go too hard in one direction or the other. Often the best way to do it is to make it very, very generic, because that way you have an easy to sing over motif. Like there weren't the extensions that we had in 1,000 Dreams of You. Maybe you're kind of trying to allow for a lack of security and what's going on with the first track. It's kind of it's a sad kind of state of affairs. I mean, like, this is track number. So we haven't got the lyrics here. So there were some tracks I could find lyrics for and some that I couldn't. This song here, I couldn't find lyrics for, but I can find ones for the third one, I think, which was Midnight Singer. But getting back to what I was saying, I understand it. I don't think it's necessarily a mystery. I just think that when you've got two singers, you've already got too many lead elements there. So having additional lead voices is just a little bit too much. The two singers are meant to feed off each other, basically, is what I'm trying to say. You either have a separate verse per singer and allow them to come together for the choruses, or you have them both together the entire time, and it's meant to be something very romantic sounding. But yeah, basically that's track number 2. Track number 3, which we have lyrics for, as I mentioned before, is Voices of Sing Late in the Night. I'm just going to double check that the leveling was there. Yeah, I think that's better at 10. I'm going to keep it at 10 for now. You guys can let me know if it sounds like garbage, but I think that this stream audio is better than it has been. At least it's not the bass resonance we've had in previous recordings. But yeah, Voices of Sing Late in the Night, track number 3. Let's go. Let's do it. See, I get all these ideas for album reviews from you guys. Like, I'm reviewing stuff that you've sent my way, and I'm glad to hear something a little bit more old school. I like the quietness of his voice here. I think it's very, just some vulnerability there. Very delicate. It's great texture amongst the strings and the really soft pianos, you know, illustrating a dynamic range. Okay, that was an interesting melodic lift there. He loves his, he likes these little ascending cat flurries there to raise into the hook, and it's a typical thing you'd do. It's a good way of raising because it sounds like it's getting bigger. You know, we have some extensions in the harmony as well, which has a sort of emotional sophistication there. What I will say, though, it's incredibly peaceful music. It's incredibly peaceful. The reverb tails of the acoustic guitars are fantastic as well. It's just so airy and breathy. It's got a great... I mean, truth be told, it could verge on being overproduced a little bit with how much we're trying to sort of like emphasize the reverb, but again, there's a separate lead voicing and makes it instantly more interesting than just having vocals the entire time. No matter how good the singer is, you need different textures in the front and forefront. Great bass tone, nice and round, full in the mix. No resonant frequencies. I think there's something going on in the last half of that verse part, and there's something going on in the verse part with the lift there melodically, and I appreciate what they're doing because it catches me off guard. I think I'm expecting him to go to a different chord or a different melody, and he doesn't. He raises up, and it's kind of like I'm getting lost in the track. Because this track, of course, is titled it's titled Voices of Sing Late in the Night or Midnight Singer. It does kind of sound like it's being sung late at night. Like you're whispering to not wake anybody up, you know? I have just realized there's strings in the background on the sides there. are wonderful how they kind of waltz around Leslie in the center of the stereo field. They had a nice mid-range resonance there. They're rolling within the triads there, so they're nice and kind sounding and very soft and pretty. And all in all, oh, okay. I am looking at the chat, by the way. There's just a few things I want to approach within the individual chat section between tracks. So don't worry, I am reading your messages. But his vibrato here is sensational. Great. Just had the piano play it out. Let it. Yep. Wait, when did the drums come in? How smooth is this track? The drums are so quiet. The drums are so subtle in this track. I did not realize how smooth this listening was. Wow, that is the first time that I have missed the drums. It's the first time I missed the drums. Usually I catch the drums when they come in, but this time it was just so... It was like I was being mesmerized by it. It's kind of... I have to show some love for that. That's a well-written track. They sound like Disney soundtracks. They sound like something you'd hear in like a Disney soundtrack. These classical backings and everything like that. We have got lyrics though. We got voices of sing late in the night. You know... Can I guarantee that these are going to be perfectly translated? No, but we're going to try our best. Only far into the night can I see, can I and you bear our souls to free our innocence? Let a delicate kiss at the night's watershed moment be transmuted into ringing of songs pressing at the portal of your heart. I'm going to level with you guys. The translations are a little bit rough. You guys are welcome to let me know what you think the song is about in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this after the live stream. But, yeah, I don't know, man. It's kind of wild. Let a delicate kiss at the night's watershed moment. So is it basically letting the kiss at night be the gateway to the heart? Oh, see, this is gorgeous. I like this line. I plead with star signs, implore the moon to witness that I will eagerly spend the whole lifetime waiting for that eventual day my prayer is answered when I fly away swiftly and with you in search of eternity. So I think basically what he's saying, he's calling to the moon to understand, you know, he wants the moon to witness his steadfastness, making sure that he stays loyal to this person for the rest of his life so that he can get with them, you know, to fly away. Now, what I like here, and this is actually kind of classy, how do I say this without sounding kind of charged? I like when people don't infer that the person they're talking to is a woman. You may be thinking, why would it matter that he hasn't mentioned that it's a woman? Well, the reason that I think it's great that with these love songs you don't mention it's a woman is there are a lot of people who may prefer, who aren't women, that might think that Leslie's talking to them. You know, what I'm saying is that when you segregate yourself into only approaching one half of the human race, or like, you know, like you're missing out a major percentage of people basically. If you just make it so that you're just kind of writing love songs about relationships with like women that you've been with or something like that, if you're a guy, right? I like the ambiguity of not knowing who that you is. It allows the listener to kind of pretend that that's them no matter who they are, and I think that's wonderful. I think it's really smart. Beautiful lyricism there. Absolutely. Shen Yida, I prefer Leslie Cheung's plays, but I don't particularly like his songs, but I know he's a very kind and warm person. Shen Yida, I can understand that. I mean, the stuff that you've sent through is often like rock stuff. And I can't imagine Leslie Cheung doing like rock stuff. I don't think he would necessarily have the voice for it. Not because I think that he's incapable of it, but because he has a real softness to his voice that really doesn't suit rock unless you go absolute full bore heavy metal. And then what happens there is that then the softness of the vocals contrasts with the heaviness of the other elements in the mix, and the juxtaposition is effective. But yeah, I'm glad that he's a good person. Thank you for that, Shinyadar. I appreciate it. FYI, by 1995, Leslie is past his peak in popularity. By now, it's all about Jackie Cheung, Leon Lai, Andy Lau, and Aaron Kwok. Yeah, I've been told to check those guys out too. Apparently, they're very good, also known as the Four Heavenly Kings in Hong Kong. Apparently, Elsie is very happy with track 3. And Elsie says, well, you might be onto something, Logan, because Leslie did come out as bi. It wouldn't surprise me. And Honest is, you know, if you think, just real quick, if you're probably never going to be aware of how many people you know who may secretly like consider themselves a certain way and not talk about it just because of societal pressure, you know. It's always good to be open-minded and accepting of people as long as nothing really kind of gross is going on, you know. Like there's, I wouldn't be surprised. And I say that not because I think that I'm not assuming that he's a certain way, but when you have that ambiguity in your lyrics at the same time, I don't necessarily think that it can't be the case. I mean, clearly the dude is really kind of comfortable as masculinity, which may seem like a weird thing to say, but part of that is because I think it's the softness of his delivery. He doesn't need to flex how tough he is. He just knows he can voice himself the way he needs, and it works. And it works regardless of who he's singing to. We got track number 4 anyways. What is track number 4? In This Lifetime. Cool, let's continue. Lyrics as well. Good. The cymbal shimmers. The keys. It's like watching a VHS tape. You know what I mean? It's a gem of its time. It's a really cool thing when people like add an extra chord into the last half of a verse to kind of extend it and build. It's really easy to just kind of make a song a little bit more interesting by doing that, because what you have is an unpredictability to it, and that's what listeners need. They need to not feel like they're being carried through something, because they'll just switch off. Thank you, Ronnie. Enjoy the live stream, my dude. I like the harmonized vocals on here as well. I think they had a nice bit of... harmonized vocals work when you have them in the higher range. If you have two singers that are in a similar octave range, it won't work unless they're doing different vocal styles. If you're going to have backing vocals, have them an octave higher. Don't maybe have them an octave lower, and the danger with having them an octave lower is that they might interfere with the bass elements, especially if you're a male vocalist who's in a mid-range. Having higher vocal backing singers is a great choice. That's it. Now what is that? What is that instrument there? I'm pretty sure that's a synthesizer, but I could be wrong. That's it. That's a synth, isn't it? Great phrasing there. Call and response between the backing vocalists and the lead instrument. Aced it. The drums are a little bit more kind of present this time. I think previously we had some easy listening stuff, but here we're going for a more bombastic ballad here where we have the drums being more of a focal point with the snare fill going into it, which I appreciate. I think that I'm starting to get a picture who Leslie Cheung is now as a singer. It's amazing how versatile his voice is despite a lack of wanting to change the way he performs, if that makes sense. I mean, to be fair, the first track, he adapted to the style, I think in a way that was appropriate. But I'm wondering if that was primarily because it was a cover. Great choice of 16ths with the tom fills there. Yeah, honestly, like the variation with the percussion here is a highlight for me. It's great because when I listen to a track, I want to hear more than just the singer, if that makes sense. Because if the singer was the only thing that mattered, you may as well just have them like sing on a podcast or something like that. In a track like this, you really do need every element of it to be tight. And if the keys, the bass parts are more conservative, have the drums do something cool. I mean, the strings on the side are developing. And the return of that synth lead. Beautiful. I really like this part. That was a hella classy song. Was that one of his big ones? I mean, knowing my taste, it wouldn't have been. Yeah, it's okay. That's definitely a like from me. What I liked about that one is not only the variation of performance with the instrumental parts, I liked the assertion of that synth lead, that kind of round, kind of toned one. It was very warm and caring and gentle, and it was a pleasure to listen to. And there were variations to the rhythmic phrasing there, as well as the, I call a response we had occasionally with like the singers. It's wonderful, and I think as well, what I liked about it is that even though, we had that kind of typical bum 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 bum, we had like a 4-chord transition in that last hook into the final reiteration of the hook line. We didn't just end it there. Leslie was like, no, we need more synth. And it rounded out the track really nicely. We had time for a nice long fade out. It was beautiful, dude. Really great track. I'm impressed with that. Do we have lyrics for that one? We do. So I get to look through the lyrics now, and don't worry, we'll have a look at the chat in a moment. This present life. Excellent. All my life, by magic changes, looking forward to a love silently. How many bending roads step by step walked up, love road one by one also disappointed. So the translation is a little bit rough, but we're gonna try and we're gonna do it. We're gonna do our best. So I think what they're trying to say here with I'm not willing to say breaking up, still eager the legend of love. I think what the translation is trying to communicate is they don't want to break up. They don't want to be apart. They want to remain together, to continue to chase them, to continue to be with them. Grateful to God, let me see you. Like, that's fantastic. He's showing gratitude to the higher powers for having met them in the first place. I think that's fantastic, Hand over your true heart, very beautiful. Miss you every day, endless. I'd rather that than ignore the fame and fortune, unrestrained fly with you. Yeah, so I think he's saying that to give up his riches in order to be with him. Which is interesting again, because as I understand it, this is the point in time with Leslie Cheung where I think with this album, he was unsure as to whether he wanted to continue releasing music. In part because of stuff, maybe what Elsie was saying before in the chat, where there were other people who were already like kind of filling in that niche. Because I think it had been a while between 1995 and when Leslie released his last album. So yeah, it's a beautiful song. Promised with him hug again. Willing to this life. Promised with him hug again. I think he's basically saying here that he wants to make the most of his life, to be with that person, to not give up, to continue to chase and enjoy it as he can. I could be wrong. Please let me know if I'm wrong. I don't mind being told I'm wrong anymore. I've gotten over myself, so that's great. Good way to be, you know. But what's chat been up about? Ronnie the Shit Baker of Hong Kong. Who is Shit Baker? Who is Shit Baker? I don't know who they are, but I'm nonetheless appreciative of that. It Nina says, thank you again for checking out the translated lyrics. I, native listener, took for granted listen to the lyrics without understanding or analyzing. Well, hey, look, you're totally welcome. I like to understand what I'm listening to, and I like to understand what I'm listening to. And the thing is, when I don't understand something, it bothers me to an extent. I'm not unreasonable. There are tracks here that I just could not find translations for, and that's fine. But when I do get a translation, it's just good to be able to tie the it's not just the vocal performance or the accompaniment or the theme or the performance in general, the arrangement or the studio production. It's also having the story kind of tie into everything to amalgamate into something that sounds like it makes sense as a whole. So I think that we nailed that here. I'm very pleased with the overall track. Elsie says, don't know if you subconsciously heard a difference, but this is the first Cantonese track on the album. I'm still kind of rough and fuzzy around the differences between the languages. And I know that we've talked about it before. It's getting better. Like, if I listened back to these tracks and I paid attention, I'd probably be able to tell there were differences. I guess I got lost in them. I take the L on that one. I didn't notice, but I'd say that's predominantly because of ignorance on my part, you know. And Sally Tay says this song was part of the soundtrack of a film he starred in calling "He's a Man, She's a Woman." Well, thank you, Sally. See, I didn't know that, and this is why I appreciate you guys telling me about this stuff, because I just wouldn't know. It's nice to get that extra bit of feedback, that extra kind of context, because I legitimately, this is the first time I've had exposure to their music. You know? I've never really heard Leslie Cheung before, but it's great to check it out. I'm thankful for it. We're nearly at the halfway point of the review. Hopefully you guys are having a good time so far. Hopefully you're staying hydrated. We'll continue forward. It doesn't surprise me that he's getting involved with like movie soundtracks. This kind of music does sound like it would be in a movie soundtrack. I remember saying before that I think it sounded like a Disney music, some of it, like the Disney soundtracks from like the early 20th century. And hang on. What is this track called? I gotta check it out, right? Bygone Love. Ending theme of this. Oh, yeah. Okay, right. So I should probably note here. That's not actually good. They do mention here in the Wikipedia that the track number 3 was apparently the main theme song of the film The Phantom Lover. As Sally mentioned, in this lifetime, track number 4 is from He's a Woman, She's a Man. Yeah. And then Bygone Love, this one, apparently it is the ending theme song of the film Farewell My Concubine, originally sung by Sandy Lamb and Jonathan Lee. It's good to hear Jonathan is getting busy in more stuff. I do like Jonathan's work. But with that out of the way, let's continue. This is very different to what we've had previously, eh? Oh, wow. If you've ever watched a horror film or like a sci-fi fantasy film from the 80s, you'll recognize this stuff going on with the phasing and oscillation of those synths in the background, dude. It's wild, man. Wow, how it fills up the headphones, though. Sup, Gil? Sup, Gillian Lim? How you doing? I think this is potentially going to be my favorite off of the album so far. I love the ambiguity of the intro. I love the combination of these minorish kind of lower elements here with how pretty the piano's here in his voice. His head and chest voice is wonderful, it's splendid. Okay, chorus? Okay, extension of chorus? I'm trying to find a point to talk, but it's so difficult because there's so much happening. Oh, great use of the vibrato on the back of vocals. Yeah, great finish, nice resolution there. I like the little cymbal shimmers that we had. You know, I think that's a really classy way to instantiate a transition. It's a really nice rounded ballad. Is this a ballad? Is this a ballad format? Lead element? Is that a sonan? Like a sonan or like a Chinese flute or something like that? I think it's a wonderful melody though. It kind of sounds like a dream sequence though, going backwards and forwards. Okay, very gentle re-entry. Simple harmonies there, just articulations in the higher and some extensions there. Great. That boom, that snare drum, it's well mixed, but also it's accented. So it's kind of like snaps you out of the lull of that verse. Great snare tone, actually, the drum kit sounds amazing. That was classy. That was classy. That was an unexpected break there. We knew that we'd had quite a lot of the previous section there. We didn't want to do a key change. We didn't want to add an extra lead element in there because Leslie was the focal point. Bring in that drum kit, let it have a bit of a buff around. smacking the back end. A little bit more to the backing vocals here, in line with Leslie. And there's a guitar as well, actually I didn't hear until now. Playing some power chords or something like that. Oh, it's charming. And then more of the cymbal shimmers fading our way out with the synths and the piano and everything else kind of gliding us out. That was hella impressive, dude. That song was very well handled. I'm blown away by that. Do I think that they could have done more with it? No. No, I think that it would have been a little bit too much. I mean, it was already 5 minutes. I think that what made the song work is that they split it up at the halfway point. They allowed that difference, that kind of trippy kind of wind instrument solo to occur as kind of a way of, you know, like just adjusting the expectations of the listener. It's like, whoa, hang on, we're not just going straight back into a verse here. No, we have the dream sequence and then we go back into it, and then boom, we're there. We are at the point, right? We are at the point where we're back at that verse. We have another 2 halves. That 30 seconds turns a 5-minute track into a 4.5 minute with the value there. There is no filler though at the same time. Really great use of time. I think this is the longest track we've had so far, although we have track number 7, which is the most popular one. You guys seem to love your longer tracks. A lot of musicians that I review from this part of the world, we like our longer tracks. I think maybe it's just we had we don't. A lot of musicians, a lot of people who listen to music nowadays prefer shorter tracks. Just actually, no, do they? I don't know. I'm talking out of line there. I keep getting told that people prefer tracks within 2 to 4 minutes, but then people will listen to way longer stuff. You know, people will binge watch Netflix documentaries and stuff like that. I don't know. It's all up to personal perspective, I suppose. Do we have lyrics for this one? Do we? No, okay. No, we don't. We don't for this one. So you guys can let me know what this is about if that's okay with you. You don't have to, but either way, it's all good. Checking out the chat. Gillian, I think I said Gil hi to Gillian before. How you doing? And hopefully everyone that's watching this, hopefully if you're watching this whether during the live stream or outside of it, you're having a good time. Live streams every Saturday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. New Zealand time. I think it's like the equivalent time in Pacific time. I'm not sure. But yeah. Leslie. If Leslie was listening to let's just, because I mean I've had David Tao review check out one of the videos I did way back in the day when I was like marginally doing okay on YouTube. And he seemed to like it. I think it's tricky because I stubbornly speak English, not because I don't want to learn another language. I have tried learning. I'm unsure if Duolingo teaches Mandarin or Cantonese. I've tried learning that. It's hard. I've had a go at it a couple of times. It's hard, but I've had a go. But I'm just hoping that if Leslie were to watch something like this, that he would understand that I value what he does as a musician, and I would also hope that Leslie would understand that people value what he does as a musician. You know? Oh no. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm really sorry to hear that. I hate depression. You know, I hate it. I hate what it does to people. You know, the impression I get of this dude is that he was incredibly successful. He seems like he seemed like he was a wonderful person. It's such a shame. It's such a loss. Ah, man. That was 20 years ago. That's crazy, man. 20 years ago today. Because it's still technically April. Rest in peace. Well, for what it's worth, you know, regardless of how I feel about the next 5 tracks, I can nonetheless ascertain safely that Leslie is a phenomenal vocalist. And after listening to, yeah, see, 46 is so young. 46 years old is so young. Like, they're saying that kids nowadays, the latest generation, the Zoomers, they're saying that like Zoomers will be able to live till they're 100 with the current healthcare, medical advancements, you know? It's just, it's so hard, man. You know, it's really tough, and I'm so sorry to hear that he died. Because he was phenomenal. He's a phenomenal musician, and I mean that. I'm not just saying that because I feel obligated to. After listening to him, you know, I mean that. There are musicians I've reviewed where they have not been phenomenal. That said, even if they weren't, I would still appreciate who they were as a human being. And the fact that they're trying, I don't think anyone should have to go through that for obvious reasons, you know? But thank you to all of you for telling me. Thank you, Gillian, Elsie, Salite. I appreciate you letting me know. I had no idea. I didn't know, and I'm very... That's sad to hear, but I'm grateful for the music that he made. And hopefully his family and everyone else around him knows how much he loved them. And if he is listening to this from up above, I hope that he enjoys it and appreciates how much we love his music. Track number 6. The 6th track is called Losing You Forever. And after the conversation we just had, that's bitter. That's a hard one. There's such authenticity in his vocal performance. He carries himself very well and he sings from the heart. I love the harp passages in the background. I like the phrasing of them and how they kind of dance between the parts of the stereo field. Yeah, wonderful. I like the lack of a drum kit here. I think it works better with the strings in his voice for the emotional, the delivery of it, the heaviness of the tones. I like the use of the plucked basses as well as the continued use of the harp. I think it's got an angelic quality to it. This is one of his strongest performances off of the album though, for sure. And that kind of rubato-esque kind of finish there to allow the clarinet. Fantastic though. It's nice to hear Leslie like commit to a full orchestral backing here. I think that is the strength of Leslie's voice, is that it's so versatile. It works with a lot of different backings. That's partly his skill as a singer, to know how to adapt to that without sacrificing what makes him special. The drama to those high strings though, dude. Yeah, great. Fantastic choice. Big orchestral gongs. I thought I was gonna catch it, but I didn't. No! Keep missing the gong, dude. No, it'll do it again. I don't know. I don't know if I will actually. Yep, great finish here. Really easy to follow along to, very calming and soothing to listen to. Yeah. I got it. I got the gong. I got the cymbal. Fantastic. Oh, wonderful choice. Parallel major for that chord. It's beautiful music. Like, honestly, like, this is some of the most gorgeous music I've heard in quite a long time. And I think there's a wonderment to the way that these orchestral and analog instruments are used. I know for a fact how many, like, I know the vast array of possibilities with synthetic and electronic instruments. In part because I actually teach music production as students. I work with a range of synthesizers and plugins and stuff. I understand it, but there is this magic to what they're doing here with these passages. You know, I love how we're phrasing the different instruments in a way that's very beneficial to it. You can kind of imagine being in the room with Leslie when he sings with the band, and he interacts with them, and it seems like it's more than just he's on stage and everyone else is catching up. It seems like he harmonizes with certain instruments. He is in flow with certain ones. He allows the rest of the band to come up with him in those big finish parts, or the big kind of rises into the hook parts. There's a great synergy between the various elements of the arrangement, the composition, and the performance. And I think that Leslie is acutely aware of his role, not just as a frontman, but also as a team player. And that's what I like about this as well. There's a great sense of maturity to the performance because of that. And I'm thankful to be listening to music like this where the person that doesn't, it's not like an ego project. And that's always the risk with people who write their own music, solo artists, is that they'll think they're the only one that matters. Leslie Cheung clearly wanted to make the best music he could with everyone involved, and I'm very happy with that. Got chat time though, because I know I don't have lyrics for that. It's Niner says, we were all shocked by the news 20 years ago. Yeah, I imagine you would be, because like that's, I'm trying to figure out what the equivalent of that would be with a lot of the Western music that we get exposed to here. I think it'd be like if like, I don't know, man. Who's someone? I'm not sure. I don't think it's fair to compare it, you know? I don't actually think it's fair to compare, so I won't. It's just, it's a very unique experience, and I'm sorry that everyone had to go through that. Shin Yida says it has the vibe of a symphony orchestra. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Elsie says Disney vibes. Again, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's Niner says he was also a singer-songwriter. He wrote 4 out of 8 original tracks in the album. That's awesome. I'm so glad. That makes me so happy because it's always a shame to me when I listen to albums and the person hasn't written them, the ones that they're singing. No shade to people like that. I know I've reviewed people who are quite big that don't necessarily write and arrange this stuff, but I think that if they have the capacity to, it's great to hear them write some stuff on their album as well. That's all I'm saying. It's not that I think people should write their own music if they're singing necessarily all the time. It's just if you can do that, why not? Why not do that? So I'm glad that he does. And finally, Elsie says, classy and mature. I don't know whether he doesn't go over the top by choice or he lacks the range. I honestly don't know. He could go higher. He could go higher. I am damn sure that he has more falsetto range than that, and I'm damn sure that he can go lower. The reason he doesn't is because he's a great singer. He knows where the sweet spot of his head voice is. Sorry, head voice. And he knows the sweet spot of his chest voice. And when you are an experienced vocalist, you know there are notes that you can hit, and you know there are notes that you can't. And you run the risk, especially because this is like a decade or so into his career, right? As you get older, your voice also, your throat, vocal cords age. That's the blessing and the curse of being a singer, is that you age with your ability to sing, which is why people in their 50s and 60s don't necessarily sing as well as their 30s and 40s. But yeah, with Leslie, I'm sure he could have sung more, but I think he knew not to. And that's a wonderful thing. That restraint is very, very classy and mature, as you said. So yeah. We got Chase from theme song from the film He's a Woman, She's a Man. So there's 2 songs from the same film in there. Crazy, dude. Yeah, great job. I was hoping those strings would come in here. The jazzy nuances are there, they're real, man. Great free flow tempo to the piano playing. A little bit quicker this time. I wasn't expecting the rhythm shift. Yep, that extra bar then, dun dun da da da. You know, like that extra. It's like kind of like a little, like a mini bridge, like a little mini bridge between the verse and the chorus. I think that was a good choice because it just gave us a little bit of a easier transition between the 2 parts. I'm not sure if it would have been too blunt, progression wise, but it's fine. It worked. Guitars in the background as a sub layer. Great choice. I mean, like these kind of progressions, these bass lines don't age. So there'll be ways that we phrase the different chords and like notes on the bass guitar, for instance, or the synths. They won't change between albums in the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, etc. because there are positions and sequences compositionally that work really well. Wonderful. So what are we going to do? Oh, straight into the verse? I mean, to be fair, this is 5 minutes 23, so there's quite a lot of real estate to make up here. Great, keep it going. Repetition with a little bit of development, but not much, but that's okay. Ah, good. Again, he likes his dum bum 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 changing up at the drum parts. Is it that we've got the drum kit going in this part? Dude, the drums come in so smoothly. It just, I get caught out with the drums, how they come into these songs. This is some of the smoothest stuff I've listened to in my life. Yeah, it's satisfying. You can predict it on the second time, and you can feel like you're at one with Leslie in songs like this. I use the backing vocals in the second half there to elevate it. Yep, great choice. A little elongation of those melodies there, those notes. Ah. Ah. Good. That was a great little phrase there. It was lots of change there tonally. So you went from that acoustic steel string to the lead guitar, but you went from like a flamenco kind of passionate kind of little tone there with some harmonic and melodic minors to just distortion with the big bends and the where. And it's not like we didn't shred for the sake of shredding. We had some whole notes that were kept. But then we kind of had a little bit of a like a neoclassical kind of thing before we resolved into that's really sweet spot of that unison bend with the choir vocals. And then Leslie comes back in and it just slams, dude. It's so satisfying when they do this. The guitar continues. Excellent. Very impressed by this. This is what I talk about. Sorry to interrupt. This is what I talk about when I want ballads to have more lead instruments. They don't have to take the center field. They just have to be an accompaniment. Give more to the harmony that's going on in the second half of the chorus. Let that last outro chorus be huge. It doesn't need to be like an anticlimax. It doesn't need to be the same. Just don't overload the core hook and allow space for stuff later on. Oh, a parallel major? Oh, yeah, I wasn't expecting to go to the parallel major there at the end, so I'm assuming that things ended happily because of that. That was a wonderful decision there for the harmony there. Okay. I'm not sure whether this is my favorite from the album, but it's definitely up there. I think that we had a great range Going on with the various layers of the arrangement, like from the strings, the drums, the bass, the guitar parts coming later on there, the vocals, the backing choirs, the keys, the synths, etc. There was so much like stuff lovingly orchestrated within the track that got kind of layered on and kind of taken away and put back in as we went. And the concepts we had there, such as the extra bar for like the bridge to go into the chorus there, the solo section with the guitars, different tones there is wonderful. And Leslie's vocals as well. I do think that was strong. I think they were elevated by everything else at the same time, but he definitely held his own, and I'm not surprised that people really enjoy this track. I think it's great. Yeah, well, check out the lyrics for this one. Oh, okay. Seeking achievement in a lifetime, but this minute I only have you on my mind. Okay, you're the one I won't let go. Yeah, this is wholesome. This story is wholesome. I think what this track is trying to communicate is that no matter what the kind of ambitions they have in life, they've realized that that pales in comparison to what that person means to them. And yeah, that's basically the crux of it, is that Leslie is saying, no matter what I think I want, I realize that you're what I need. And I want to spend that time with you, my life with you, and to have that connection be us for the rest of our life. And I can understand why people vibe with that. It's definitely a very romantic, heartfelt, uplifting, bum, 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 bum. That's an uplifting melody going into that hook section there, the iteration of the devotion that they have to that person. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's well done. The story is adorable and wonderful. The instrument performances were great, and I'm happy with this track. But yeah, what do we got in the chat? Shenyida says, 30 years ago, the stars had to be popular enough to be eligible to release albums in the Chinese music scene, so there are often people with poor singing skills. That doesn't surprise me. I think we had a movement with that in like the 2010s, like in the States and stuff like that, where people could just buy like listings on Spotify and did social media, and people got big when they couldn't sing very well. But for the record, I think that Leslie is doing a phenomenal job of his vocals, and I think songs like this illustrate how good he is. Gillian Lim says, you might cry to the lyrics of the song. So simple, so beautiful. Yeah, I mean, like, I think that I kind of got a little bit shell-shocked when I found out that he passed away. And then I picked myself back up from that. And I think that might have been the one cry I was going to have today. But I can appreciate why people might cry with this. I think it is beautiful. It's a beautiful message. Shin Yida says, the song is the first time I heard Leslie Cheung's song. I knew that he could sing. It is also the song that impresses me the most, and I still sing it when I go to KTV. The song reminds me of my youth, a song sung to me by a girl I like. Well, Shinyida, that is something that is a beautiful thing. I am glad that you had that opportunity to have someone sing that song for you, because they clearly, you mean the world to them, and that's fantastic. I think it's a great song to karaoke to be fair. It's an easy song to follow along to vocally. I'm very happy with that. Elsie says, such a classy solo. Love his vocals in this one. Same. And Sally Tay says, yep, I agree. It's definitely a go-to karaoke song. Oh, totally. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Good times. We got track number 8, though. What is track number 8? Make Passes. All right, let's get into it. Track number 8. That is definitely a saxophone this time, isn't it? I hope it is. I thought a trumpet was a saxophone earlier on. Who is singing here? It doesn't say. It doesn't say who else is singing here. Because this isn't Leslie, this is another woman's voice. Great unison between them. Do you hear how there's a unison between the accents of the melodic instruments and the singer? That's not on accident, that's on purpose. We've got some interesting synth characteristics here, like a lot of these sounds, these they do sound like they're like old Casio kind of like keyboards, and that's no shade. I think the tones are cool, don't get me wrong. It'd be cool to know who the lady singer is in the song though, because it doesn't mention it in the Wikipedia. A little bit of guitar work there, some slides. Hey, that buzz roll coming in with the drum kit, with the saxophone and the lead is a fantastic step. I don't talk about the themes enough. I don't really know how to describe the theme. Very 90s. Actually, oh my god. Did you hear that? Did you hear the saxophone solo that they just played? How ridiculous that was? I gotta give a shout out to Leslie. He is not sleeping on his solo sections. That was amazing. Whoever played sax on that one deserves a medal, dude. When he's sent. Thank you, Sally. I appreciate that. Thank you to everyone helping me figure out that it's when he's sent. I appreciate it. I don't know why I didn't click, because I mean, now that I think about it, it does sound similar to the previous track we had. And if they're here. Yeah, there we go. So Endless Embrace, they did a duet with Winnie Sin for the second track, and then we've got Winnie Sin again. That's cool. Thank you. Yeah, her voice is phenomenal. Like, Winnie's a fantastic foil for what Leslie's doing. They're very tonally compatible. The reason I'm saying they're tonally compatible is because Winnie is like an octave above Leslie, and they're having a conversation at the moment. One goes, the other person kind of mirrors it. There's a call and response there. And they're kind of maybe modulating melodies that they have and kind of reiterating with their own sort of separate vocal ranges. Yeah, the saxophone with the vocals alongside, and the bass tone, and I'll be honest, like the theme behind it is relatively neutral. I think, how do I describe it? I think that the reason I don't really feel an affinity towards what's going on harmonically or within like the theme itself is because the theme itself is relatively neutral. I think that's the wonderful thing about this kind of music, is that I never really feel anything from the music unless it's a lead instrument, because they're created to be so kind of solo friendly that you can kind of put whatever tone you want on top and it will basically work. The organ though is hella sassy though. I love that. Is that a Hammond or something like that? Oh. Great combination of elements with the synths, the pianos, saxophone, organs, drums, bass. And there were some bluesy phrasings in there as well from the saxophone, which I really appreciated. It wasn't just your traditional major and minor scales. There was also like some kind of sharp fourths or flat fives or something like that. Like some chromatic bits, which made it a lot more interesting to listen to melodically. And the fact they managed to get it to harmonize the way they did is again due in part to the neutrality of some of the parts in the key progression, but also in the key signature and the chord progression, but also in part due to the fact that they just know how to stage solo phrasings well. It's fantastic. So, do we have lyrics for this one? I got a bit of a flicker in my in that one. What is this? Is this one out there? I don't know. No, this is the 9th one. So we don't actually have lyrics for track number 8, but still I really enjoyed it. It was a great song. Lots of love for that. I like the saxophone solos as well as some of the other instrumental parts of it. I think that it was really articulate and well explored. I think there was a weak point. Okay. Chat time. Sally Tay and who do we have here? Let me just go to Depal to go. Who is this lovely individual? Give You Life 3000 and Sally Tay telling me it's Winnie Sin. Thank you very much for helping me out with that. I appreciate it. Shin Yida. This is a fun one. So I remember that no one seemed to recommend Leslie Cheung's songs in the live broadcast. How could Logan know Leslie Cheung and want to review this classic album? The way that I knew to review Leslie is because throughout the last year and a bit I've been doing stuff on YouTube and more active, I have consistently had people be like, why haven't you reviewed Leslie Cheung in like the comment sections of videos and stuff? And it's happened now. It's happened now. You now have a Leslie Cheung review, an album review. The reason I chose this album without realizing how much of a classic it was is because I did some research and I learned that I wanted to. I learned that this was the album where Leslie Cheung, he said to himself, do I want to make another album or do I want to retire? So this was his album, as I understand it, that was basically his re-entry into the music scene. Because I don't think that he had released an album in a while. So that's basically what I think happened there. I was curious to hear an album from someone in that position, and I'm glad that I have, because it's like when you already know you're successful, why would you continue to release more music commercially? But then it's also worth remembering that at this point in time, the music industry wasn't like it is today, where like you can just have a studio in your own house. For Leslie Cheung to have the resources, I mean, I don't know if he had a studio at his house, but studios were hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, back then. It was very expensive to have a full-bore recording studio to a commercial grade, not like it is today. And I just think that I'm glad that he took the jump into making more music. I think it was great. And then, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Hang on, that was Give You Life 3000. Good stuff. We've got 2 more tracks to go. 2 more. We have got The White-Haired Beauty today, which is from the film The Bride with White Hair. We do have lyrics for that, so don't worry. We're going to listen through this next track, number 9. But yeah, just if you guys do send through artists, I will probably do a live review of them, an album review at some point, if there's like enough attention on it. I'm not worried about the views or anything like that at this point to an extent. I know that the channel's not super big or anything like that, but it's just I'm more curious at this point and I want to understand these musicians. I think that's a healthy kind of compromise and like midpoint. I think the choir here is absolutely phenomenal with the low-end bass resonance and strings. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's angelic, you know? Every single song starts differently. I don't know if you're aware of that. There was no sleeping on the intros to these tracks. There was a lot of effort put into the composition. Part of the reason I know that Leslie is a good singer is because he can sing that softly and get the vibrato off of it. It is very difficult to do that. That requires phenomenal vocal technique, and he is smashing it. Alright, hang on. And Gillian Lim says, doesn't it sound like a Disney song? It does. That previous track did. A lot of this album sounds like Disney soundtracks. I think that it was the warm, fuzzy feeling of the 90s when the world was a little bit less scuffed, at least in most parts, than it is now. It's very kind of like warm and nostalgic to a certain extent. Yeah, that's dynamic range, by the way. The fact that he's that quiet with the rest of the instruments and then, you know, like that big build there, the crescendo, bringing in the rest of the instruments, that dynamic range is welcome. It's just an easy kind of way of boosting things. Great combination of the guitars, the strings, the drums, the bass, etc. I like how the music builds up and then you just have it come down for a verse. You know, you don't just have it the whole entire same perceived loudness. Great tone and ambience to the guitars, by the way. Presence in the mix. Yep. Great choice here. Oh, I was expecting to go higher though. It was a very short track. This song just flew by, man. There was absolutely no filler within this track. It just went from start till finish at a rate of knots. That was very, very satisfying. And we're just done. We just finished. The orchestral section came out. He sang his piece. We had a little bit of this sort of changes and development with like the guitar parts, etc., the bass and drums and all that. You know, we had movement, but it was just so quick, you know? I kind of miss it already. It's weird for me to miss a song after I've listened through the thing, but I want to hear it again sometime. I'll give this a like predominantly because I think that I like the softness of his approach at the start. I think the choirs that we had at the start, like I don't know if they're like a choir or if they're like synth choirs or something like that. Because on like a keyboard you can have like a choir sound which goes wow, you know, that kind of sounds like a bit kind of like spiritual kind of thing. But nevertheless, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to look through the lyrics. Actually, look through the lyrics. So we're gonna look this. You're welcome at Nina. You're welcome. Thank you for coming along to come chat. I appreciate it. White hair beauty, despise this life, resent this night. Why no one told me love is such torment? Between love and scorn there is no separating, a rosy countenance and white hair. Okay, so help me out here, please. Help me out. Who is the white-haired beauty? Is it just that they've got white hair but they're a beautiful person? Is that it? The fire of passion cannot burn through it. So are they just really attracted to this person with the white hair? And it's just the past and the thereafter, I possess them all at once in a single night. How can anyone suggest that it equates to not enduring love? Yeah, okay, I'm a little bit confused. I wish that I could believe that breaking up while we are still inseparable could lighten my feeling of guilt. So he's attracted, and there's scorn there. So does he want to break up with this person that he's attracted to? I'm not sure. This one's a tricky one. Can you guys help me out here? I'm wondering what this track is about. Am I like overthinking it? Even torching it would not burn through. Is it the passion? Is basically, does he feel guilty for being passionate about the person that he's with? Is there like a forbidden passion or something like that? Is it a forbidden love? Are they not supposed to be into each other? I'm a little bit confused. But it's okay. Ah, Tale of the White-Haired Witch. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So we're going to go to chat, though, with that in mind. Apparently, Leslie was one of the 2 most popular pop stars in 80s Hong Kong. So when he came out of retirement, of course, every label wanted to support him. That's great. That's fantastic. This and the last song were both songs from a movie, which he starred in the movie. Dude, he not only sang these absolute tunes, but he starred in them as an actor. You can't really do better than that, can you? Really, like not only acting in something, but also singing the music that's behind it. That's wonderful, dude. That's wonderful. And yeah, I'm just glad like people like IT9er and everyone like that. I'm just glad you guys enjoy these live streams. Every Saturday from 5 to 7 p.m. New Zealand time on Saturdays. Same time, same place. I don't really see that changing anytime soon. But that's all good. The Tale of the White Witch. White-haired witch, should I say. I might have to Google that to find out more about it. But in the meantime, we've got one more track today. We are almost through the live stream review. Oh, he retired as a singer but was still active as an actor. Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know. Well, I appreciate that. That makes sense now. Still active as an actor. Well, in that sense, we have ourselves the last track today, which is titled Choice. That seems like a lot of symbols for choice. That seems like a lot of symbols, if I may say so myself. But it is what it is. Choice. They're speaking French. What is that instrument? What is that instrument? I know that instrument. What is the name of it? Accordion. They've got an accordion on the right side. Very French. Parallel minor there. Oh, happy major at the end. Listen to this through headphones. If you're not listening to this through headphones, do it, because you can hear the little tap taps. Little tap taps of the hand drums on the sides. The hand percussion is wonderful, dude. Absolute bop, dude. Haven't had a song like this yet to be in the album, to be fair. Dun 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 dun. It's got a great energy and sparkle to the rhythm there. We've got some relatively easy to understand, sort of like absorb triads. Oh yeah. More of the harps as well. Cool, cool. Again, not sleeping on the instrumental performance here. That is how you handle a lead solo. Have the lead instrument come in at the start, let it kind of feature a little bit to get the listener kind of titillated, a little bit interested. Oh. That's an erhu, isn't it? Have they got an accordion and an erhu to combine the different tones? Or is that just like a violin or something like that? It's definitely a violin. Two solos. I mean, I appreciate that it's there to sort of suggest a vibe for the movie, right? Bum, 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 bum. The points of interest for this track were the string plucks, the various points of hand percussion going around the headphones. And that's like a train or something like that, eh? Yeah, they on a train going somewhere? Is that the end of that track, the Foley? I'm assuming it might be. But that was an absolutely charming little listen, and it's a kind of a surreal way to finish a track, you know. But that's cool. Elsie says Days of Being Wild, a great film too. Yeah. Apparently he really was in some, he was featured in some great films. And he's a part of some really important soundtracks, which is fantastic. I mean, I can't really fault any of the songs in this album. To be fair, they're all pretty stellar. I'll give that a like as well. And then finally, we got another movie song from Wong Kar-wai. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate all the extra information you provided to me. Everyone who has done so, because I just wouldn't know otherwise. I mean, I learned a little bit about the album and stuff like that by looking at the Wikipedia and stuff like that. But I am not given privy. I'm not privy, should I say, to a lot of this kind of in-depth information like you guys might know. So it's great to have that clarity there. Basically, it's time for the conclusion of my album review. I think that this was a fantastic album and a great re-entry for Leslie Cheung, because this is Most Beloved. This is a great re-entry for Leslie Cheung into the industry at the time that he released it. I can understand why he was beloved. I think that as a singer, he's tremendous. The stories that he told were heartfelt and typically revolved around relationships or like heartbreak or not sure. You know, like, or they were related to movie themes. But you know, there were things that people could get behind, and I can imagine a lot of people around the time that he released this, even if it was like in the later stage of his career, I think nonetheless people would appreciate, enjoy the stories and be able to vibe and relate to them, which is part of why people enjoy his stuff so much. He's got great head and chest voice, tremendous vocal technique, lots of little bits of ornamentation. He's very flexible with his delivery as well, where he's very, very adept at kind of emoting in a way that makes sense to the track that he's singing on side. And all in all, you know, like his pipes are absolutely fantastic. When Winnie Sin came in the duets in tracks 2 and 8, if I'm not mistaken, you know, they complemented each other well. They complemented each other really well. I'm very stoked with how they sang together. I don't think there was a weak spot in their performance at all. With Winnie up on that higher range, she notched nicely on top of Leslie, and they just sung together and they flew through the sky. I've got no complaints about that whatsoever. So he could handle being in collaborations with people. He could handle being on his own. And what I also like about Leslie is that he didn't just sing and that be the focal point. He, as I've said in previous parts of this album review, he really did enjoy having other lead instruments such as guitars or like trumpets or saxophones or accordions, even some drum solo kind of bits there where there was a variation with the grooves there. He liked having different instruments come in and kind of act as like a little bit of extra spice and zazz by giving a different way of voicing things. Whether they were articulating his original instantiated melodies or whether they were simply different versions entirely, it didn't matter because Leslie was taking a step back and allowing someone else to be the focal point. I have lots of love for that. It's always a shame when you have a lot of talented, competent musicians and they are not made the most of because there's this like fear of not having vocals equating to being a lesser experience for the listener, when in reality, if you think about it, we have spent literally hundreds of years before this music was released listening to incredibly, phenomenally competent instrumental performances through the classical periods or romantic, baroque, etc. Why is it that we got to a point where we wanted to have the vocals as a focal point and not have instrumental solos and stuff like that? Why is that such a surprising thing to producers and its studio execs and labels and stuff like that? It's why when I liked track number 15, or track number 7, should I say, Chase, I loved that guitar section, in part because you had the lead guitarist behind the vocals. You had them coming together. They weren't just one thing or the other. They were in unison. It's almost like in Chase, people realized, hey, we can have everything have a small part to play in a greater picture. And it was wonderful. When I heard about Leslie Cheung as like a pop star from the 80s, I didn't know what to expect because I didn't want to assume. My expectations have been blown out of the water. I think that Leslie is potentially one of the favorite musicians I've reviewed. I think that some of this music is, I think, not superior, but more interesting to me than some of the other musicians I've reviewed. Like, as much as I like Khalil Fong, I prefer Leslie's music to Khalil. I would say I even prefer some of this music to some of the stuff I've heard from other musicians that are smaller than maybe Jay Chow. But also, like, there is stuff in here that I think I can see it offering a precedent to later artists and their development. And I'm glad that he made this album. The performances, there was not a note out of place. There was complexity to the arrangement, the main themes, and the composition that made sense with the story, with the rest of the parts of the development of it. And nothing was too alien or unusual. I also like the fact there's some chromatic passages such as the saxophone's pentatonic solo as well as parts where we had like parallel majors and minors, like at the end of songs or something like that, to kind of add that things improved or something like that. Or we had extra bars as well, just as a final note, just to kind of transition between things, is like a pseudo bridge. But the recording, mixing, and mastering, the final step of the conclusion, is wonderful because we had a musician who did the best they could with their pipes, and the performance of the instruments is great. If you do not have the label side of things sorted, you're screwed. You're just screwed. You're not going to have a good time. It's going to sound like garbage, no matter how much effort you put into it. So what I love about the way this album was done is that Leslie genuinely just needed to sing well, and the studio side, they nailed the recording of his vocal takes. They didn't need to do any work on his vocals to get them to sound good, because he could just sing. So could Winnie. They both were great singers, so the vocal takes sounded phenomenal. And then you also had the knowledge of how to get the drummers, the bass, the strings, the brass, the accordions, the synths, the pianos, etc. All those instruments in a way that's notched and filtered well in the frequency spectrum in the stereo field. Put some reverb and delay on them occasionally. Get a little bit of augmentation of the volume or something like that, or the panning of the stuff in the stereo field, just to kind of get it to swirl around a little bit. You have a phenomenal dynamic range to this recording as well. They weren't trying to push the limiter so that the track was too loud that it would kind of sound like it was breathing. There was a lot of life to this performance. You could almost be mistaken for thinking this is a live performance in certain situations, especially with the symphonic parts. The leveling was damn near top notch. It's commercial grade, which is what I would expect from a musician of Leslie's tenure. And it was nice and loud without pumping. All in all, for my conclusion of my review of Most Beloved by Leslie Cheung, I'd say I really enjoyed myself reviewing this, and I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to do so. Thank you very much for watching this live stream of this album review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go and check out Leslie's Spotify, or whichever way you listen to his music. Just go listen to some of his music this weekend. I am sad to hear that he passed away. I think that it is a loss for the music industry. And just like how I feel with Zhang Yuxing and other musicians of that grade, I would wonder what, Leslie would think about music nowadays, where music is going. I just hope that wherever he is, he's looking down and he's proud of what he's accomplished, and he knows how much people love him. But until... this is my review of this album. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys next weekend for what is presumably going to be an album review, because I typically do the album reviews of the first album of the month. I don't know what it's going to be, but we'll figure it out. Hopefully the audio was better in today's live stream. People seem to have been able to hear the music, and I haven't had any complaints, which is which is always positive. But yeah, I don't know what that album will be. We're getting very close to 8K subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please do, so that because that will in part help us to review Jay Charles' 13th album, which we'll do in May at the stage rate we're going. Just while I remember, I did a few covers of songs a week ago, and I didn't do more because I've been really busy. I'd like to do more of those, but we'll see how we go. But stay cool. Have a great weekend. Take care. Spiderhands out.